So what I'll do to kind of give you an idea of what I mean is give you an example of what a good answer may sound like. So, whilst working as a sales manager at ABC Training in my last role, it was brought to my attention through customer complaints that some of my sales team were unethically selling. It just so happens it was two of my highest bidders. Most annoying thing. The action I took to alleviate the pressure was to be focused, organised, and to utilise my existing team for support. I didn't take it all on board myself. Whilst I was making those changes, which I was forced to. My first thought before taking any action was these are my best salespeople who consistently achieve targets, and their target have been done for the past few years. Quite easily. They've always achieved their target for the past few years. I thought if I was to remove them from the team, then the team morale, it would go downhill, as well as the sales revenue. So not just money was at stake here, but my entire sales team was at stake, because as you may know, being in management yourself, once you take away those key influences in a team, things can very quickly topple. On second thoughts, I knew I had to do right by my customers, who had been fraudulently, unfortunately, sold to, and I had to set an example to the team just to show them that this, by no way or means, was acceptable. My first action was then to arrange a disciplinary with the two people in question. And I carried out further investigations into the customer complaint and gathered evidence, and brought this to the meeting to show unequivocally that they had both missold up to at least 5 customers each. And I knew about it, and possibly more that I wasn't aware of. Both salespeople, with all the evidence laid out, they admitted to their fault. Once the evidence was actually presented to them. And through that admittance, I was able to dismiss them immediately. So I then arranged an emergency meeting with my existing sales team, and just to fully inform them what had happened, just so they didn't feel under any pressure at all, because they were not culprits as well. As a team, we all discussed how we could collectively make up for the inevitable dip in sales. I redefined the KPIs for them. This was to gain some added focus towards our sales figures and soften the impact of the reduction in revenue. It was inevitable. We were bound to lose some revenue, but we wanted to soften that blow. That week was a tough one. Sales declined pretty much immediately, and I had to interview people just to fill the 2 vacant positions as well. Luckily, I found 2 suitable candidates that week. So all of the hard work and extra work rate, it really did have an impact. Once I inducted the new salespeople, which took about 2 weeks in total, I increased everyone's target by 10%. This was an attempt to recoup some of the sales that we had lost over the past month or so, and also increase the competition amongst the team. So initially, what I wanted to do is try and boost the morale of the team, and secondly, I needed to increase that competitive edge. I got clearance from the director to offer an additional team bonus and an incentive to get them working more closely as a team. So it was actually a group incentive. So although, competitively, for them to all win individually, they had to kind of outdo one another. There was a team incentive at the end of the month, so they would hopefully work together to kind of boost each other and make sure everyone was winning. And what I found this done was really boost the camaraderie around the team. So we were kind of getting back to where we were before. In fact, probably a better version of the team we were before. Now, what happened was within 1 month, both the new members of staff were bringing around 60% of the revenue as the 2 members of staff, which unfortunately I had to fire. This instilled a lot of trust in me from my director. I showed I could cope well under pressure when faced with what was potentially like a mini crisis, responding to the threat to make sales revenue, which was only temporarily affected, fortunately. So the loss in sales revenue was not, a long-term occurrence, fortunately. More importantly, I learned how to boost morale in a time of crisis whilst driving more efficiently, from my team in a time of crisis. So I drove more efficiency, but whilst boosting morale. Normally adding pressure to the sales team would actually drive morale down, but I had to be creative. Ultimately, by sticking to my integrity, not compromising on my morals to keep, the two salespeople just because they were high billers, whilst under pressure, whilst sticking to my integrity and making a really tough decision to get rid of them, I was able to organize myself and start to prioritize the most important tasks, put together a strategy to maintain as much as possible whilst even potentially making gains. So that's the end of my explanation of my answer, how well do I cope under pressure? And I used the STAR acronym. You'll notice how much detail went into that answer, just to cover the one question. Now, don't get me wrong, you can overdo it, but only if you don't remember to keep on track with your story. Because, once you go off into a tangent, then it starts to get boring, to be honest. And, with too much detail involved, even the person who's interviewing you can forget what question they asked. But did you pick up on how I switched a negative topic and a scenario into a positive situation? And I made the story overall quite positive. Now the interviewer knows something about me that they wouldn't have known from my CV.